Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to another edition of Faith Friday. I want to begin my reflection with you today by telling a little story, and like all stories, this begins once upon a time. Once upon a time, there was a very wise chief of a Native American tribe, and oftentimes this chief would gather all of the young members of the tribe and help to teach them to learn important lessons about life. So one day, as he was teaching, he had all of the youngsters around him, and he asked them this question. He said, "Can you tell the exact moment in time when it's no longer nighttime and daytime has begun?" And one of the young members of the tribe raised her hand and said, "You know that the night has ended and the day has begun when you look into the distance and you see a tree, and you can tell whether it's an elm tree or an oak tree." And the chief shook his head and said, "No, that's not the answer. Anyone else know when the exact moment is when nighttime has ended and daytime has begun?" And another young member of the tribe raised his hand and says, "You know when it's exactly the daytime has begun, when you look into the distance and you see a small animal and you can tell whether that's a squirrel or a rabbit." And again, the chief of the tribe shook his head and said, "Nope, that's not the answer. Does anyone else know?" And there was silence. And so the chief said, "This is the moment when you know that night has ended and day has begun, when you can look into the eyes of someone else and you can recognize that that person is your brother or your sister. For if you do not see that person as your brother or sister, it will always be nighttime." Boys and girls, there's a great challenge in that story to be able to see one another as a brother, as a sister, as members of the same family of God. In this weekend's gospel, the two first disciples begin to follow Jesus, and Jesus turns around and asks them, "What is it you're looking for?" And the disciples ask, "Well, Lord, where do you stay?" That seems like a strange question to ask Jesus. "Lord, where do you stay?" But we know the answer to that question. Jesus stays, lives in you. He lives in me. That's where Jesus lives. And unless we're able to recognize that Jesus is living in this other person, even the person I don't always like, or even the person who has hurt me, or the person who says mean things about me, I have to see that Jesus lives in that person and respect that person because Jesus lives inside of that person. That if I can't do that, if I can't see that that person is my brother or my sister, it will always be nighttime. Boys and girls, we must never live as children of night. We must always live as children of the daytime and able to see Jesus in one another. God bless you all, and I hope you have a wonderful day.